On today's Minute of the Apes, Brent and Nova approach something. Brent and Nova walk away from something. Then they approach something. Then they walk away. They approach, they walk away, they approach, they walk away.
They greenlit the sequel without a story in mind. They just wanted to equal an unexpected gold mine. He said, oh no, as Heston said, I got to go. These are just some of the facts you ought to know as we go. Beneath the Minute of the Apes. Beneath the Minute of the Apes. Beneath the Minute of the Apes.
The only good human is a dead human.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. I'm Todd. Friday, do I get to have Rich and Sean today, or do I get somebody new today?
Hi, I'm not Sean.
This is Sven.
Sven. Okay, Sven, it's so good to have you. You know, have I mentioned to you your very lovely red hair, Sven? I've got Richard and Sean. It is minute 55. We're on a Friday. Let's get to business.
Drinking and caking.
Yeah, you know what? Let's end it the way we began it. Happy birthday, Sean.
Oh, thank you.
So we're coming to the close of your birthday week.
Yes, my week is over.
Did you get older as we went along with this?
Every second.
Yeah. Ticking away.
Not going backwards.
All right, so minute 55. Sean, tell us what's going on.
We're going to start minute 55 with Brent and Nova still approaching East 51st Street and ends with Brent and Nova approaching a church.
Okay. So the warning has been there all the week, but this, I will tell you, I even have it in my notes. There is absolute silence in this. I promise we've not stopped podcasting.
We're not gaslighting you for a minute.
You will hear some stuff pick up, so here we go with the minute.
All right, as of minute 55, we had 3 living humans, 4 dead humans, 1 dead ape, a shrewdness of apes, and a gaggle of humans. So, again, I think this is a minute where the sound editor was having fun of killing audio over and over again, just on, off.
So this minute goes into what we've kind of talked about of what are they doing to draw them, what's going on, because the sound just quits.
Yeah.
They arbitrarily are walking through this kind of area. I don't know. You can't call it a tunnel. It's an area between a couple of pylons or
Is this
something.
supposed to be,
Right. They walk through it.
Is this supposed to be a church that we know? I don't.
Yes, it is.
So they walk through this area, and as we see the 51st thing
That's why the
still
51st
here
is
to the
on.
right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So is it a sensor that they trip and it stops the sound? And they don't give a shit. They just sort of, it stops.
Yeah. I don't understand the motivation.
It's like somebody's dicking with them, and they're intentionally just going, woo, woo, woo,
yeah.
woo, woo, woo,
On
woo.
off, on off, on off.
But we go towards and we approach a cathedral. Now, I know Richard's going to tell us what it is. I will tell you that the actual cathedral they used on set was intentionally skewed the symmetrical aspects of it,
Okay.
so that it seemed distorted.
Okay.
And if you look at it, you begin to look, the lines are a little
Looks
wrong.
wrong.
So they tried to skew it so that it would look like it had been hit.
So when we walk past the East 51st sign, we come across the cathedral. It's got a giant archway in the center. It's got 2 little kind of smaller juts coming out to the side. The 51st Street is relevant, East 51st Street, because at 5th Avenue and East 51st Street is the St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Oh, okay.
I've got a photo of it right here.
Oh, well, yeah, I
exactly.
can see that, yeah.
And you can put the 2 images side by side. You can
They-
see the
yeah,
doorway,
they
the
model it.
archway, and the 2 things. They look pretty much identical. I mean, except for some changes you would make just because you're on a set and you couldn't get it exact. What I found really unique about the cathedral was that the wood doors were still intact and fine.
I had that on here. So the Stock Exchange, Radio City, Music Hall, and the library are all wrecked, but this church door is just fine. Especially considering it's wooden.
So that was my note too. We all saw the same thing, and I will say this being, my door at home, I've owned that house for 17 years. I've had to stain it twice because the elements of wind and rain hitting it make it look like crap.
What?
This one, whatever stain that is, I want it on my house that survives a nuclear blast.
It's underground, so it's protected from rain and wind.
Okay, so did the ground, when the nuclear blast happened, did it all fall out and suck it down so that nothing happened? It molten lava'd everything else, but the
doors, spot on.
So, the 51st Street is relevant. Because it's the St. Patrick's Cathedral. I don't know that people in Oklahoma or California would know specifically, other than recognizing that it's probably the entrance to a church of some type.
Yeah, well, New York's got a ton of those. They're old churches, so it immediately fits into it. We don't have to know what that is. We just know it's a cathedral. There's no question. What does cathedral say to most people? Safety, serenity, and these kind of things. So I don't know if that's supposed to lure Brent forward. But
it was nice again having this actual set piece to allow them to kind of walk in front of them, give a sense of the size of where they're at and how tiny they are compared to everything that's around them.
Mm-hmm.
So I did appreciate that. They then come across like this tiny little font that has water in it.
Mm-hmm.
And Brent, the genius that he is, thinks he can move dirt off the top of the water and make it clean.
So my immediate thought was that ANSA's.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, drink stagnant water as long as you filter it by shoving shit off the top of it.
Moving it off the top, yeah.
How does he know this water is drinkable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, if we had just gotten the sense that they were desperate and thirstier than they were, this might make sense. But it really doesn't, as an astronaut, make sense to just drink dirty water that's been sitting buried underground for a while. I mean, unless he for some reason he thought it might be a fresh spring, but even then it's not.
You touched on something
dirt on it.
Precisely that came to my mind, in that Star Wars Force Awakens has the John Boyega, what Finn has been in the desert. We know he's thirsty, and when he comes into that area, he sees that big slobbery elephant-like thing drinking water,
and he
drinks it, and he thinks it's gross, but then he drinks it again. What you said, he's established that he has been in the desert and thirsty. Brent, we don't know. Now, we know everybody needs water, but there's nothing that says desperation that I'm going to drink a cesspool of water. So it's a stupid choice.
So he comes across it. We kind of move in on him. He pushes like leaves and debris off the top of the water. He reaches down and kind of cups his hand, and then he immediately spits it out. And I love the exaggeration of him spitting it out because it's very much like a spit take.
It is a spit take.
Like, yeah.
If anything, if he would at least turn and go and like
don't
choked on it
or something.
Yeah, but instead he just turns and spews it. And how many times have I watched Jimmy Fallon with somebody spit taking something like that? Mm-hmm. You see that all the time.
Well, you know who should have actually done this movement? It should have been Nova.
Because she hasn't had an agency into this point. So yeah,
we could have accepted the fact that she did not know that this water would not be drinkable.
That's true. Yeah. That is true. But then again, is she supposed to be so resourceful as a wild human that she knows not to drink poo-poo water?
But she might. I mean, she might know that.
Has she been to an area like this before? I mean, shouldn't she not be even more shocked than he is? Because what is all this stuff that I've never seen before?
And, to Richard's point, I think that it actually, both of you, she's had no investment in the moment. Mm-hmm. It would make more sense. And therefore, it would liven up the whole moment altogether because suddenly Nova is simply in the moment instead of walking around.
I mean, you see her, like, if she went up and touched one of the lion's heads going,
just do something interesting. I mean, granted, these monuments mean nothing to her. I mean, they don't mean anything to her, right? They have no impact whatsoever. But when he drinks his water, for some reason, she's in the shot on the left, and it's just the back of her head. And it's there for a few seconds while he drinks the water. I'm like, why is it just the back of her head in this shot? It didn't make any sense.
Well, let's be quite frank. The 5 minutes we've covered this week have not made a lot of sense.
A painful 5 minutes, yes. Are we almost done with this movie? We've got like 8 more weeks, I think.
Believe it or not, we're we're at least to the
We're
point.
closer to the end than the beginning, right?
We are closer to the end, and as I've teased you, we are getting to the point where at least things happen that you'll go,
Oh, yeah.
that's new.
Okay.
I don't quite get this, but it's going to be that I don't get a good thing in a movie where you're posing
Give me more
questions for me.
information, yeah.
Tell me. So
he walks, so he drinks the water, right? He shakes his hands off. He then walks left around the little fount, and then why has he not looked at those doors? I would have been like, clearly somebody's taking care of those doors.
These wooden doors.
Yeah. So he kind of walks back around. He looks to the left of the cathedral, like he's trying to find stuff, and then he actually begins to take notice, right? And that's kind of where this minute ends.
Well, let's be quite honest. ANSA does not send their best out there.
no. We've established that before, and Brent has just been observing everything, and now he finally showed his true colors of stupidity by sticking his face down in the nasty water.
I know we talked about James Franciscus, wanting to add to the script and give his character more stuff. These are the perfect moments for him to have. I mean, granted, he had the one line of dialogue doesn't mean anything. He's talking to nobody, but I would have been okay if he was talking to nobody during this moment when he's walking around.
He's talking to himself, yeah.
Pondering about what happened or what's going on or where he was at or,
But
I saw my first show here.
That's what I was thinking. A great character moment is when you don't comment what you're seeing, but instead how you interacted with it. You can have oh my God, I took my first date here. And now suddenly you could tie that together that essentially she's now his hoochie. And I had this, at least it's telling us something about Brent and what that means to him.
I bought my first stock here.
Yes.
I rode my first lion here.
But I mean, there are so many things he could say about what those mean to him.
Right.
He could even make the comment, I never went to Radio City. He could make the joke almost. You could do anything.
I wish I had gone here.
Yes.
Yeah, something like
anything like that. But instead, it's just treated as blasé.
And it was a really good opportunity
Just,
for
hey, kid,
this actor
Ben.
to actually contribute something to these moments,
It's funny because you're right. It does seem like a moment where as an actor you would be saying, can't I do this? Can't I do that? Now, they may have economically said we don't want to stop down a lot right here. But, that's one of the things that if you ever read about what directors will say about film is that you have to understand when to let a movie breathe. They try so hard to simply push us to A to B right here.
There was a line that I guess never got cut or never was put in where he says, "Are we in a city or at a cemetery?"
That's interesting.
While he was
that would've
walking
been good,
around.
too. Yeah.
But they also may have felt like they, when they were doing the edits for this, they may have thought the silence was going to speak more to the audience.
No.
Particularly if you just had the one line.
I don't know.
I mean, just even him dropping to his knees and going like, no, or something. But I don't know.
But to that point, maybe they didn't want to reiterate the "goddamn you all to hell."
Because they already put it in the first of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, but they wanted, but you could still find something different.
This entire week was the kind of the real introduction to what happened to New York.
Yeah,
and the monuments and going beyond just the shock of the Statue of Liberty and actually seeing civilization ended, or however you would say that, and so I feel like we're on the precipice of a lot more about to happen because we've introduced this new place. This new old destroyed place.
Well, it is
old New York.
It's interesting to see that this still exists when we've seen Apes, and we've seen that out there in that part of the world, it's
Everything. There's no
adobe dwellings. There's no remnants of the past life, and now we're seeing something that there is still a construct of sorts of what existed before. So that's interesting. I just wish that there had been a little more.
Right. Well,
detail.
Seeing this kind of stuff here would make me wonder what happened to my city.
Yeah.
What happened to my town? What happened to Los Angeles? What happened to London? What happened
They're
to
all underground now.
Was the global environment so destroyed by nuclear that it wiped out a lot of cities and towns, and that's why Albuquerque is just
right.
It wasn't familiar of another city.
Adobe huts, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for me. What about you guys?
I wish I had more, but I don't.
You don't sound very excited.
Don't. I've never
This
hidden.
was not a fun 5 minutes.
I've never hidden that I don't care for this movie a lot. It's my least favorite of the originals. And it's this first hour that